What's up, everybody? Welcome to our Monday night mastermind call. We are just going to go into realistic listing goals today as a just something that I want to go over with every mastermind call that I'm in because I think it's super important to sort of maximize your own schedule. Everyone is different. Everyone has different goals. Why don't we just get into it with Kevin? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your week and what a realistic listing goal is? Are you pretty much at the max? Do you feel like you could do more? Talk to us about your week and your goals.
Sure. So I am Kevin or the Clutch Swag on IG, and I would say one of my realistic goals would be I think 8 hours a week is definitely doable. I think my problem is more time management. I don't think that I manage my time as well as I could, and I think that I'm getting better at it. I think that once you realize what your weakness is and you make it a point to work on it or make it a focus, then that's the most you can do. I think that 8 hours a week would definitely be. I think I did some of the math on it with some of my average listings. If I did 8 hours a week, I would easily increase 10,000. I think that's $10,000 in product listed. If that's how long it would take me to do $10,000 in product, it would be like 8 hours. So I think that that's something that's doable, especially broken down over 7 days, a little bit more than an hour a day. So that's something that I want to get back on top of. I used to just wake up every day and just do an hour, and I think that that's something that I could definitely fit in and work on.
How many SKUs is that?
Oh, that's a very good question. Most of the time, I list variable, so it's definitely going to range. I've had times where I've listed one active listing that was, one SKU, and it had, I don't know, 90 shoes on that listing, and that was worth like 12 grand or something like that. So I don't even remember. But yeah, it all depends.
That's fair. And I guess when you're doing a multi-quantity list, or it's a variable listing, right?
Right. Or multi-quantity, whatever. Yeah, no, it would be variable listing. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
I don't get too often listings with this that's the same size but multiples of them. I usually get more listings with different sizes and multiples of each size.
I think it's important to point this out, guys. There's people who have goals of how much revenue they want listed. There's people who have how much profit listed. There's people who have how many items listed. Uh, in the end, I guess it's how much net is kind of a way to look at it because how much work are you really doing? When people say they're listing $10,000, it could mean a variety of different things. So it's good to keep in perspective what your own personal goals are. Everyone is different. I think that's great. That's like $1,000 an hour posting. That's really aggressive. That's literally impossible with unique items unless you're selling, you know, like car parts or a category, maybe servers or something that's super expensive.
Right.
So do
And
you?
I do try to set listing goals at the beginning of each month. I do set a listing goal. Now, the problem with that is, I mean, obviously, you're never going to be able to predict what type of product you're going to run across. If you're setting a listing goal over, you know, the objective is to reach a certain value, and you find product that's relatively cheaper, but it doubles your money up on it. I mean, was that a bad month? No. So, more than anything, I try to break it down more into time because as long as I'm getting good product in and I'm making sure that I am listing and because that's a big part of the business. Without listing the items, you can't sell them. So I try to evaluate everything over a time period. So to make sure that I'm at least putting in, I again try for the 8 hours. As long as that's happening, then I'm pretty happy with it.
So I have a question to ask you. Let's say
Sure.
you were to double that to 16 hours a week. What would you do in the extra 8 hours in your eBay business?
So if I had to double it, if we're just going off of the time, I would actually probably still spend the same 8 hours listing new listings, and I might spend the extra 8 hours, or maybe do 10 with new and six editing or updating old listings. Because as the store grows and gets bigger, I try to be very competitive with my pricing. And at the time of when I posted something, I might have been the best price, and now a month later or 2 weeks later I might not be. So I might actually break it down that way and just spend more time updating older listings. And I think that that's something to have a goal for. If you have I think I have about 200 active listings. If you have 200 active listings, I think that it would be smart at the beginning of a month to break down and say, you know, every day I'm going to update 5 listings, make sure that the title is good, make sure that the pictures are good, make sure that the description isn't stale. And I think that that would be where I would spend more time.
Amazing. One more question. Let's say you had
Sure.
somebody else show up and they gave you 8 hours of their time.
Okay.
What would you have them do?
If somebody else showed up, I would have them, to be honest, I still think that me behind the computer is the best way to go. I've automated a lot of the processes with growing my store as it's gotten bigger, tried to give people the tools to do what I do. I still think that with a new listing, I don't trust anyone more than I trust myself. So I would still put myself behind the wheel for that. But if I had somebody come in, I think that teaching them to update listings would be where I would start. So again, then I would spend 100% of the time just doing the new listings, and I would show someone how to view active listings, how to be competitive in pricing with what we're selling versus our competitors, understanding fees, understanding how to build a title. I mean, Ashley's very good at it. Everybody in this call has a really, really magnificent store. If you don't know how to build a good title, and if you don't know what I mean by that, you can click any of the links in our Instagram bios and get to the stores. And that's a great example. So yeah, I would probably, if I had someone come on, edit existing listings. That's what I would do.
I like that because I think it's important to try to train people what you do all the time, even if you never give it up, just so that you can get an idea of what you're doing, and explaining it to somebody else. Sometimes you get an idea of how you do processes, what you can do better yourself. And you catch yourself when you're like, oh, I didn't do that. And I want to point out that the items that you sell, like 90% of them have watchers, which is very high. That means you're selling very popular items. And in those
I
categories,
think it's higher than that.
it's right. And it's like to the point where if you make a mistake, you're not competitive. So
Right.
that's what I'm trying to point out. If you're selling more rare items, you can kind of not have the best keywords and kind of get away with it because there's 2 of them on eBay and you have 1 of them. And they're going to find it as long
Sure.
as you have 1 of the right keywords. Let's go to Laura. Laura, talk to us about what your week looks like as a mom, and tell us like how many hours you realistically have for eBay and what do you think you can get listed. Also, I have a spreadsheet I think they sent to everyone if you guys want to fill that out. I'm just really curious what people's actual time breakdown can be.
Okay, well, I have been getting up really early, which has really helped my week a lot and really helped me streamline my process even more. Um, Anybody that has kids knows that it takes not twice, but 3 times, if not 4 times, as long to do anything when you have kids around you, just because they demand your attention so much. And it's really hard to, really focus. So I have been getting up pretty early, between 4 or 5 every morning, and my body is automatically like programmed now. It took me only a week to program myself, which is awesome. I'm so happy about that. So what I've been doing is I'll either, if I'm not sourcing during the day, I will take pictures, do my shipping and stuff during the day for the 4 hours that my son is in school. I use those 4 hours a day to do either sourcing, shipping, or pictures. If I'm sourcing that day, then I obviously have to pick and choose. I have to do pictures later. So after the kids go to the bed, I might do like an hour or 2 of pictures. So, and I draft why I take pictures now too, which saves me that extra time. So in the morning when I wake up, my drafts are already pretty much, ready to go. I just have to plug in the measurements and stuff like that. So it really only takes me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to make them live. And I do about between 20 and 30 items a day. And then, I can get my kids up, get them ready for their day, and then start it all over again. I'm trying to spend more time sourcing. So that's why I've kind of broken up my process a little more to doing pictures at night, because I'm trying to source, like you said, those rare items that I can get a little more. My whole goal is to find at least one item every time I source that can get $100 or more for
I
resale
like that.
value. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I've been successful every time so far. So far, I've been successful at least finding one item that can resell for that much. So in order for me to find those rare items, I have to go sourcing more. I have to be at the right place at the right time and make sure I'm out there looking. So it's really helped me out. And then also on the back end of that, I'm connecting each of um, my process. I'm connecting that sourcing, so that means I'm listing at least one item that sells for over $100 a day. If I'm sourcing it, I'm listing it the next day, and then it helps bump up my average sale price, and that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do right now.
So that sounds like 20 hours ish of eBay.
Yeah.
If I were to come, not me, let's say you had a helper come for 8 hours, what would you have them do?
Pictures.
Pictures.
100% pictures. I feel like it's one of the easiest, most repetitive, and most like it irks me to take pictures. I just don't like doing it lately because it is so repetitive. And because of that, I feel like once you teach that process, it might be a little easier for them to repeat.
I agree. I think that's one of the easiest things to outsource first. If you have a repeatable process, and then if you have, I have little cards of this 8 pictures that I want that are right in front of the photo place, so he can just take the 8. Because otherwise, you forget. Even me, I'll forget a photo that I normally take if I don't have those visual cues to remind myself. So that's cool. Now, if you had an extra 8 hours a week, what would you do with that? Let's say I babysat for 8 hours a week. What would you do?
Um, I would definitely, like Kevin, probably edit a little more, like do some more back end stuff. Nice dog, Kevin. Love the dog. Um, and I would also source more because, like I said, being in the right place at the right time for what I'm trying to achieve right now, which is to get my average sale price up and find those like more quality items for a cheaper price, I have to be at the right place at the right time. So
Amazing. Let's go to car mogul, Ashley. Kashi, how are you? Talk to us about this is, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but let's talk about your schedule, what you do as a mom, and then we'll start there.
Okay, so right now I have about 7.5 hours during the week total when my kids are gone. 2.5 hours, 3 days a week. So it's a little tight. I try to squeeze in, an hour or so in the evening, and maybe a half hour or so during the rest of the day when the kids are at quiet time or doing some chores. I can place some orders for Amazon. So yes, my schedule's very tight. I tend to be obsessive though, and some weeks I'll just, if I see that I have tons to do, I'll just stay up like all night and do it, which is very healthy because I do want to keep my exercise schedule going. And it just seems like lately I've had too much. There's too much that I need to do. So I'm trying to refine that. But I'm still happy. I'm trying to be okay with where I'm at and with the time I have. Like that's something I'm trying to like be, not compare myself to people who have full time, not comparing myself to tech and sports, who's a beast. But even though like it's super inspiring, but like that's just not realistic right now. But it also helps me to be more efficient with the time I do have. I don't have like all day to just kind of like, you know, oh, maybe I'll source, maybe I'll do this. I have to be extremely precise with what I do with the time I have. So yeah.
Anybody that measures their time in half-hour increments doesn't have enough time.
Yes, exactly. Yep. But if I had extra time, I would spend all of that time. If I had, I would have someone replace the pictures, someone do pictures and listings, and I could go back and just draft it. I can fix the titles if they don't know it right away. And I would spend every second of that not doing sourcing, but making connections, going to flea markets, finding people, going to garage sales, going to warehouses, going on the local classifieds where I found that car parts guy. That's all I would do until I had 8 to 10 people who I trust, who are reliable, who are contacts for me for stuff. Like that is to me now like my obsessive. I need to find that because I think it's just, especially with Amazon right now, Amazon is so saturated with the deals you find that prices just tank, and it's so frustrating. It just is so frustrating because I'm in that big pool at the bottom of the pyramid where everyone is. And it's like, I don't want to be there. I want to be at the top where there are few people, which means I need to find really good connections, good resources, private label, just figure out a different way. So yes, that's all I would do. Try to find wholesale connections, local connections, liquidation, guys who buy storage units who have too much stuff. Like that's what I want to do.
That is amazing. I just want to point out with that model also that I have the new like reseller journal that I posted that all of you guys can use, and the two questions are basically, what process are you going to make better this week, and what did you do to work on your supplier? Because if you can get an unfair connection, literally like you're the only person allowed to sell something, that's totally unfair. Like nobody else can enter, nobody else can exit. You're the only person that has it. It's a monopoly. It's actually illegal to do that in the United States. If you're the only person that can sell something, the government will shut you down if your monopoly is too big. But those are the advantages that keep you on top. And it does get more competitive if the category is popular. So those connections, especially where you live, like there may be a cattle rancher in Utah that has sells specific things that are only available in Utah. You can find that in your specific area. So I think that that's really cool. Using 8 hours straight for connections is really powerful. There's also somebody in the Mastermind group. This is kind of crazy, guys. That has a $400 average sale price and $100 average cost. So he's making well over 6 figures selling 2 items a day. So like
Wow.
really, really low volume, but 60 hours a week. Like he's more than full time. He's just meeting people, but he sells so few items. Like it's 150 items in his store for 60 grand, something like that. It's incredible how much each item is worth. But then selling things that are $400 that are popular requires a lot of networking. Like, where would you even start? It's like, rare collectibles, antiques, stuff like that you would really need to get in there and do it. And also sometimes with those particular items, you may be able to do consignment and not use any money out of pocket. There's also a luxury watch seller in the group that doesn't front any inventory and just has 500 watches for sale. I think it's $400 or $500 profit per sale, but the watches are like 7 to 10 grand each, and they don't sell very often. But imagine if you made $500 pre-tax each time you sold something. And these are the really low competition categories. There's probably 5 other people selling that watch, and they're all authorized dealers. So if you have a gray market deal, you can undercut them. And there's deals like, for example, you don't have to offer a warranty like an authorized dealer needs to, so you can charge a little bit less. All kinds of little tricks like that. But I think it's cool to focus on the sourcing. So actually, if somebody else were to help you for 8 hours, what would you have them be doing?
Definitely finding.
Still sourcing?
Finding. Just listing. Yeah, I guess no. I would, because that's the problem. I have to keep my stores alive, or do I? Or do I just say? That's where I'm struggling right now. Is like, okay, I want to keep my stores alive. I want to keep them going with stuff, but I need to make the time to make the connections to take that next big step, So it's like, do I just let my stores, slow down, even though it's Q4, or do I like just suck it up until January and then do all that stuff? But yeah, I would just have them. Yeah, I would still get stuff. They would probably just be listing it, or I would have them find me online deals, just do tactical arbitrage, or even then, I don't know if I'm going to use TA for much longer. It's been a hard week. I had to fire my VA. It's been hard. Ugh.
Oh no.
But maybe, yeah, I would just have them do the menial stuff I can't, like listing, probably photographs and listing drafts. And then I would spend my time sourcing, I guess, for now. But then next year, if it was next year, I would have them help me find leads. That would be nice.
Kevin, you have a light bulb?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to know what happened to your VA.
So she was great. She just was she would be so inconsistent. Like she would send me 3 lists in a week and then be gone for 2 weeks. And I'd be like, where'd you go? And then, and then some of the stuff she would send me, I'd be restricted in, or, it just got really frustrating. And I had asked her she was very unresponsive, and it was tough. And then she would apologize, and I would, it was just hard. So I think, yeah, next time I'm going to have to find someone who's just a little more consistent and thorough and gets everything. I need predictability. And so for 2 weeks to not have a list that I can source from was really tough. So yeah, cool. I'm doing great right now, guys.
So I'm going to say that you have to work on connections every single week forever. I don't know any like really high level people that don't continuously grease the wheel. And that involves your VA too. Like my VA is really into esports, and I don't care about esports, but I'm learning about esports because I don't want to lose this VA. I'm just like, this person is very reliable. I'm going to learn how to game for half an hour a week so I can talk to this guy so that he's my friend and I can keep it going. Like I try to have lunch with my photographer. I'm trying to like really dial in because it wastes so much time hiring and looking for new people. And like, that's why I'm trying to overpay a little bit and try to keep him happy. And also like my photographer, I even found a couple other local resellers to photograph items. So he's always full. I'm like, you do not get to do anything except for photograph eBay inventory. Don't take any other gigs. That's your job now. And it's been really helpful because he makes $1,000 a week and he's okay with being paid on PayPal, which is great for eBay sellers. So that way the 1099 miscellaneous you file corresponds with the one PayPal sends them. It's great for taxes. But I think you do need to work on suppliers every week and process. And your process might be reducing one of your stores. That might be a good thing. So I wouldn't panic. Sometimes consolidating to one platform is a good thing because of like you'll eventually meet somebody who only does one platform and wants to smash your face. So it's going to be tough.
That's why I'm thinking for next year, because I have all that stuff for eBay and it is taking up so much of my time. And Amazon, as much as I know this is the huge season, I'm still going to make some time for it to get some toys in because I know it's so popular. But like I'm getting to this point where the toy hunt does not excite me at all. Like going to stores and getting all the like Tamagotchis does not excite me. I'm not interested. I know it'll make money, but I'm just like, what is my end game here? Like I'm just losing that inspiration. I think if I can just in January, I think I'm going to reserve Amazon literally just for private label for the whole year. That's my goal. Get a private label up, learn the process, fall on my face, whatever, but limit myself to that and keep eBay going. I think that's something I'm going to feel very comfortable with. I don't know.
Do you journal actually?
Huh?
Do you journal?
No.
I should. You should journal because I think it'll be good for you to go back and look at how silly your ideas are. Everyone's will. So if you just keep a journal, it's helped me a lot because I can go back and be like, what was I thinking? But yeah, that's good. Reading your own thoughts, I think, would help you a lot.
Definitely.
Holly, what's up? Talk to us about your week.
My week's pretty busy. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge more recently because now I've been back in the office for going on 6-ish weeks, maybe 8. And I've started to burn out from doing all the work at night. So just trying to figure out how I'm going to balance things because I have a bad habit of over committing to things forever and ever. And then I'll go really hard into something, spend a lot of time and be burned out.
So how many hours do you think you have a week for your online commerce?
Okay. Here's what I know, that if I for the first month, I did really good at doing 20 hours a week in addition to my in-office 40 and the like hour and a half round trip drive. So
wow.
I'm really tired. And like the weekend, and I was doing 4 hours every night whenever I got home, photographing, measuring, and then I would just lay on my face the whole weekend. So I actually think that 20 hours is still okay. I just need to, because we're both, my significant other and I are in our businesses. He's Amazon and I'm eBay. So our weekends are not like party, like our businesses are fun for us. So I think 20 hours a week is still reasonable. but I need to dial it back so that that's like more spread out and a lot more of it is on the weekend.
Okay. If I showed up at your doorstep, what would you have me do for 8 hours a week?
Yeah, everybody had to answer this, and I was thinking about it. So I have a lister. I also, like Ashley, I think I'm going to have to fire one. I am very suspicious. She's not as productive as she could be. So I got to start from scratch there. You know what? I have a lot of things that need to be rephotographed. If someone showed up right now, I'd put them on that. But I think the photography is important. I already have someone for that. I already had a photographer last Sunday. Someone started. Yesterday, they quit.
Oh, wow.
Burned out in a week. They actually.
Why are you such a jerk manager? Just kidding.
Right? I think the problem is that I'm actually too nice. Just like, hey, yeah, work it out. Whatever feels good. I hope it's successful. And she did not and maybe she wanted it too bad, and I was too like easy seeming to work with. And I didn't say anything to her the whole time, but she did not have the time to work on it. So this one was not me, just this one.
I think it's also interesting when you're looking for like per piece work or contract work, it always takes a back. It takes a less, what is that called?
It's a back burner.
It's a back burner project for somebody. Backseat. It takes a backseat to whatever they're working on. Like for Sam, he has students working for him sometimes. And when school starts, the momentum of that goes away, right? If you had 2 employees during the summer that are in school, and then they go away for the fall or the spring, and they're kind of working in between, it's not as consistent as a person that's their thing all year. And I literally asked my photographer, like, if you get $1,000 a week, would this be your main gig? And he said, yes, it would make me more money than my wedding photography. So I want to be the main gig. So I don't know if that's possible, but,
well, I'll have that conversation because I had 2 backups. I'll have that conversation with them. And I actually just got off the phone. There's another Instagrammer, One Apple Hill. She's going to use one of my photographers so that, because I want to keep her busy. It's actually her slow season in her regular job. And so I was like, I need you busy. I was excited to hear you say that. And I'm sending her more work too. So I'll ask her, I need to ask, like, how much money do you need for this to be your only gig?
I also want to point out that you can share resources, like a Mighty Mushroom was talking about. He's in Oregon, about sharing a space with other resellers. I think this is cool, a cool concept. You know, I was thinking of setting up a Chris FBA for eBay in the middle of the country, and then people send stuff in and photographers come in. There's other eBayers that work there, because co-working spaces are really powerful and really popular in the Bay Area. So just a bunch of people powwowing together and working on it and sharing resources. And I think that a photographer and a lister, my VA, I'm really adamant about having him train somebody that he knows. So in case he's sick or something, somebody else can step in. I'm just so worried. There's so many listers that have come and go, and they're scheduling, and it's crazy. But what I want them to do is get rid of their other project, because this is the main deal. I don't know if that's possible. So let's talk about this, Holly. If you had 8 more hours, what would you do?
So if I had 8 more hours, I would source, because I could and make connections. I've come to the end of the like load of clothing I had. I just made a really good connection, a Louis Vuitton wholesale, which I'm really excited about.
What?
I started working on that in Vegas this past summer, and it's done. But I would work on more things like that, because I've done the clothes and I love it, and I want to continue to use things that speak to me, but I don't want to get into the situation Ashley was just talking about, where the things aren't exciting to you anymore. So I want to have more. I want to have that, but I don't want it to be the thing I count on for total income. I'd like to expand and make those local connections. And I can train people to list. I have trained people to list and to photograph. but I think I will always be my selector of inventory.
That's really powerful. I think it's important to focus on the things that you like, and I think double down on those parts and outsource everything else. Like for me, RA is super boring. I could definitely go to Walmart and scan video games and make $150 in 4 hours, right? And that's great because that's like that's a huge amount of income, but it's so boring. I don't see the end game. I don't want to train somebody to do that. That doesn't seem fun at all. I would rather sell my own stuff. And just, there's different things, but the hustle, and I've been getting some animosity from older resellers that are pickers, and I feel like if you are a picker, it's hard to ever to take a break. You're like a picker forever. You have to pick, or you don't make any money. So everyone in this group, I'm challenging you guys to build 8 to 10 connections so that you have a reliable source of supply. And I think all of us in this group, I picked you guys because you're great with people. So we need to use that to really be uncomfortable and meet people. Like I'm trying to do that. I want to get denied every day somehow. I haven't figured out how to do that, but I want to be like, hey, I want to go to Starbucks and say, can I wholesale buy your cups? They're going to say no for sure, but I want to start to try to get used to hearing that, because once in a while someone's going to say, sure, we have tons of liquidation. How much do you want? Like, I think there's no way you could ask 100 people for a supply and not make one connection, it seems like. Just like merch. Like, I think there's no way you can make 100 designs and not one of them would work. So you just got to get in the habit of building that supply. So I'm going to keep you guys accountable for that. Everyone in this group today, including Prince, who's not here, I'm going to ask you guys to report back next week with progress in a supplier. You don't get to not do that this week. So that's going to be painful, but I want to see it happen. Sam, why don't you talk to us? You're like the king of networking. You've got all kinds of stuff going, all kinds of deals.
So my week is pretty crazy because of school. Like, doing homework assignments is kind of different. So I have to figure out a time where, I can just go out there, source, list. I can't have like the same plan for every day or like for the whole week. It changes like constantly, and I just have to go with it and try to use my time wisely instead of being distracted somewhere else, and have like pretty much everything that I do, like I try to plan it out the day, and if something doesn't work, I'll keep adjusting. So that's one of the things that I always try to do. And if someone's, for example, if you come to me and if you get to work with me, what I would do is I would let you list and see what I need to improve on. So my goal is to build a really good process where I can have multiple people, up to 8-10 people listing in the same area, without me getting involved in it. So I'm just I've been trying to implement that system for a long time, and I think if I find someone new, what I would do is get them to start listing on the items and see where I can improve the system and help them. Maybe I just because everybody's different, so you have to adjust the system to their favor. So I will try to figure out a way how I can have listing going on, not just one way, but many different ways. So because everybody's different. People like taking pictures. Some people like listing, and they might be really good at listing, or they might not have really a skill like putting in keywords. So I will try to figure out a way where I can have really good system. And what else?
Well, I just want to point at that point where you're focusing on improving the process. I actually pay my VA and my photographer $10 for any improvement in the process. So I want they're the ones doing the work, then they're going to see what will make it faster or slower. And so the photographer, like the whole setup in this room is designed to be ergonomically friendly for him. He's like, I'm going to get tired, so let's get a mat here. I want this stuff ready. Like behind me, there's clothing laid out. And if we lay it out the night before, it's easier to photograph. So he's like, I want to photograph 200 items a day. And instead of doing, because I want him to photograph 700 items a week. So he was like, hey, how about I get it done in 3 days instead of 5 days? Can you figure out how to get it so that I can do 250 items ish? And then if I need a snack or something and I fail, I only get 220. We can still get the 700 done a week. And so he's trying to figure out how to do it, but he's getting paid along the way. And I like it because then he's using his mind. It's not as boring, because people quit their jobs because they're repetitive or because they don't like their manager. That's like the two reasons people don't like their job. But if it's predictable, I love the idea of having 8 to 10 people. I think even if you don't have 8 to 10 employees, if you just think that way, you do things sort of right the first time. Like if I was thinking about employees, I wouldn't have built these really crappy $13 shelves. I would have invested in metal shelves, because these plastic ones will definitely break over time. But I'm just so curious what $13 ship looks like for shelves.
Yeah, I see those, but and one thing is that, like, if you seen like employees that work at Walmart, Ross, they are just following the direction. They're not, if they think they can do something better, they still have to follow the rules, because they can't change that. It's
Right.
been it's been put in there so everybody can follow in the entire nation. So pretty much it's like I want to be at that level. So I want to build the system really good to the point where I can have people who are new, students, people who are older than me, they can all come in the list, with like without having the skill, like with the skill that we have acquired, throughout the process. They can just get on there, put it, do whatever they need to do and just get things moving. And one of the things that I realized is having like, for example, like when inventory comes in, I don't mix it up with everything. Pretty much I'll try to separate everything one by one. Then after they get listed, they go to the inventory system. I'll put that on the inventory system and just move on to the place where I store stuff. So pretty much I'm trying to have one person do everything from listing to picture so they can just, finish everything one time instead of having different photographer, different listers. So yeah.
I love this idea. I also want to point out, like I was talking to Watch Me Amazon and a few other 7-figure sellers, and I was asking, like, what do you do all day? Do you source all day? And they don't source all day. Once you have a way to acquire supply somehow, then you don't spend any time on sourcing anymore. It's just logistics. It's how to list different items, how to get it online. And also, when you get bigger, financing is readily available for companies that make money. So you can borrow as much money as you want if you can turn it into profit. And this is what I want to make the point of. Plato's Closet. Shout out to them, even though they're not paying me. They have made a system that any high school person can immediately work there. As soon as they show up, they know what to do. It takes like a couple of days to get acclimated, because the research system they have shows them, okay, if you can't find the item on the websites of the company or easily Google search it, that means it's not current. And we only want to buy current stuff. So get stuff that's current, and we want to pay 10% of retail, and we want to sell it for 30% of retail pre-owned. That's the basic math. And so they don't have to think too much. The system is put in place. It's profitable enough. It's not like the most profitable or whatever, but at 30% of retail, it should sell if it's current. And that makes sense now that I'm thinking of it. And think about that. They have the supply locked down. It's an unequal exchange of value, meaning people are going there to instantly get cash for their stuff. They don't need a good deal. They just need cash. So that's something I think is really cool when you create a system where inventory comes to you. That I don't know how we're all going to manage that. But if you're known as the dude whose cash is good or checks don't bounce and you are readily accepting stuff, I think somehow we could all set it up. So, it sounds like we're spending a lot of time developing relationships. So once you have those, remember the interview I had with the Straight 8? He says that 10 people call him. So I was like, okay, that took him 4 or 5 years to get that set up. So we all need to be patient. It's not like that's 2 connections a year. It's not that fast. But then people are calling him like, hey, I have this new medical supply. Hey, I have these bikes. Categories where there's huge profit, right? So imagine Kevin's got these 4 mega collectors that are calling him with the hottest releases, right? And he's the go-to guy. And he has 8 to 10 of those. Those are the huge profit items. They just need to make sure, Kevin just needs to make sure to grease the wheel and make sure those people are happy, but then supply is coming inward. So I guess I'm going to put that on top of the homework this week. You need to two things. Think of a way to get inventory to come to you, and then also reach out to a supplier and see what's going to happen, whether it's your local Goodwill, whether it's an estate sale director, because that's big. You know, like obviously the biggest deals happen with the largest, unfortunately, like a disaster, like a death, or like if somebody's house floods and the insurance writes off the whole thing and you go and get stuff. Like I saw somebody bought a tractor trailer of coffee for $200 and only like the bottom part of it was flooded. But you would have to test it and make sure the beans are okay or whatever. But imagine getting like 40,000 pounds of coffee for $200. You just figure out how to make it work. So it is interesting. Sam, if you had 8 hours more a week, what would you do?
What I would do is right now in this situation, I would list at the same time, try to build really good connection with wholesale for Amazon, and do more research on how I can scale this business, because I have limited amount of time. I'm just going with what I have been learning, so I'll try to do more research on how I can scale this business, and instead of me just being in there listing, sourcing, I have really I can go up to 7 places where I can source for a really low price. So I'm not worried about the source. It's just that I need to do more research on how I can take this to the next level. So about that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a little extra time now. I want to ask what one process you're going to work on this week. Let's start with Kevin. Listing, shipping, sourcing, dancing. What are you going to work on this week?
Well, first it's dancing. I mean, I don't really have to work on it because I got really, really good footwork. You know how it is. But anyway, I don't know if you guys watch my story. I dance in there sometimes. But anyway, what I'm gonna work on process-wise, I really like the idea of getting back up early again. I still get up at like 7 a.m. usually every day, but I'd like to get back up at like 5 and try to get myself in a rhythm this week. And when I say in a rhythm, it's going to be with listing. I have, I would say, $5,000 to $10,000 worth of product that is not listed right now.
Shameful.
I kind of source so much more than I list. So right now that's something I need to work on. Because like I said, if you're not listing it, you can't sell it. So that's going to be the process I work on this week. That'll be my main focus. Listing.
It's clear that you wake up at 7 that you don't have any kids, by the way. No mom.
Right.
That late. That's like
no
noon for a
kids.
mom.
You guys saw the dog. That's about it. And most of the time when I wake up at 7, he's still asleep.
Perfect.
So that works out.
So Ashley, what are you working on this week? Is it mom meal prep? How do you? How would you get an extra hour? Could you go from 7.5 to 8.5? How would you do that?
Gosh. So I think if I could, so the kids do have quiet time every day. Lately, I've been giving myself that time to just refresh myself, but maybe I could just take even a half hour of that and do something and then reward myself with an additional half hour of time. But I think what I'm going to actually focus on and what I've been focusing on is making my listing process for eBay as fast as it can be, timing myself with different methods, and just because Emma says she does 50 an hour. And I'm like, what? How? So I want to figure out how. If she can do it, it's possible. That would just be life-changing for me. So figuring out how, because my phone is great and it's fine when I'm out and about, but it is not the most efficient way. So I'm going to work on that.
You'd literally double the listing time by just not using your phone at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. I I mean, it was convenient, but if I could do, even if in a half hour I could do 20 listings and minus photographing, that would just be a huge game changer. Huge.
So you have to list at least one item, computer only.
Okay. Computer only. You mean no phone? Okay, no phone.
No phone. You can use your phone to take photos of it, but you can't upload it with your phone.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Make a connection and do my computer. Like, whoa, Chris.
At least one listing pushing you.
This is good, though. No.
Also, I want you to figure out how to get supply to come to you.
Yes. And I need to have confidence in myself that I can network and get people to like help me out. I lack confidence, but it's going to just take practice. So I have somewhere I'm going on Saturday, and I'm going to shake a bunch of hands and be stupid and see if someone will fall for it and give me some stuff. So we'll see if it works.
Amazing. You mean if someone will benefit from knowing you?
Benefit from knowing me. I'm a big
Yep.
deal.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Let's go with Holly. Let me unmute you. Holly, what would you like to work on this week, process-wise?
So the VA I'm going to let go, sorry, has been my lister and also pricer. I'm not going to have someone price again. So I'm going to work on a process that, gets someone the information, all the information they need to list and do everything except price without me talking to them. So that's what I'm going to do. It'll be a fact sheet.
I'm almost there with my lister. Maybe we can brainstorm this week for half an hour on how to make that work, because I literally am only adjusting price, and sometimes my lister doesn't know the gender. Sometimes it's a women's jean, but it's marked 32. It's confusing. So, which makes sense why it's confusing. So and I need like a process to indicate the pocket is short or something to let them know. But I'm trying to get to the point where I'm only doing pricing as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Give away pricing too early. I also do a lot of vintage, and my person couldn't tell if it was vintage or not. I don't know, if you're working on a sheet, add that in, because that's something they just, they can't tell.
For sure. Laura, what would you like to work on this week?
I want to streamline my sourcing process. Like when I walk into a store, I want to have a repetitive sourcing process, because with me trying to find these items, I have to be faster when I'm in the store. And that's been my problem in the past, is that I just comb through every little thing. But now that I'm
take forever.
I do take forever. Okay, Chris, thanks. But I want to streamline that more. So then I have last week, I think I did pretty good. I hit about 5 stores in maybe 4 hours, and which is pretty good for me. I mean, Chris, I take forever normally.
15 stores with 7 kids. I'm doing it.
You know what? As long as I can videotape you and be in the back of the store and laugh my head off while you do it, then go for it.
I just want to see if I can get 7 kids into a Honda Pilot, because it has 8 seats.
You can fit that many kids in my Honda Pilot for sure.
Well, I need one teenager to sit in the front, right? Don't they have to be a certain weight limit or something?
Yeah, they have to be over 40 pounds to sit in the front.
So one angsty teenager in the front, and the rest terrible twos. That'll be perfect.
No, because you can't have a teenager to help you. It has to be from ages 9 and lower.
9 and lower.
I would love to see, Chris, I would love to see you with a group of children.
I wanted to see 7 under 9. That would be challenging. Well, they couldn't sit in front. Maybe they could wear a helmet.
I don't think that's legal, Chris. Nice try.
Fair enough.
But by the way, I want to go sourcing Sunday, so
Okay, come.
let's do it.
Sam, what do you want to work on this week? Other than finding a new connection.
Amazon shipments. I've already sent in 3 boxes today, so that was really good. So basically, I'm try to ship as much units as I can, and for the challenge that I accepted yesterday, I'm going to try to list 250 new listings. So I'm already working on that right now. So and the find a new connection. Like I'm going to try to go somewhere that I wouldn't normally do. Go there and try to see if I can get some type of connection or try something, so I can see what happens. Yeah.
All right, that is amazing. Thank you guys for your input this week. And anybody have any final words? All right. Well, everyone's information is in the chat or in the description below. I think everyone knows everyone. We'll see you guys next week.